Good morning to all of those tuning in. This is the Rebel Lemon, and today we're playing South Scrimshaw, I think. Essentially, we follow I believe it's a whale or some kind of creature through its life cycle through the ocean. Not usually what I play, but I thought it was interesting enough to give it a try, as there's some pretty cool images on here. On the game page, and I was like, alright, you have me. Let's get right into it. Okay, so we can hide text with H. Left click or spacebar to advance when you see that icon. Okay, so South Scrimshaw is a linear read, but there are information tangents to explore. Text of different color can be clicked to learn more about a subject. While there are known egg-laying mammals, none of them are whales. For example, in recent years, the sea bunny is most defined by Will Voynich cartoons. Okay. The Law, 3rd edition. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, business. Yeah. We get the whole bramble about all this. It's basically illegal jargon, so you don't sue them. Oh, okay, we continue. The Corporation for Earth Media.
The Corporation for Earth Media is proud to present this educational program. Produced in conjunction with the frontier scientists, engineers, and artists of the Kronos 7 expedition. South Scrimshaw is made possible through the support of viewers like you.
That reminds me of a show I used to see in...
Thank you.
I guess not show, a channel. They always go as like, oh, this is brought to you by viewers like you. Yeah, no, super weird. I thought it was always cool, because it kind of always reminded me of like, oh hey, I contributed. Obviously, my tax dollars were non-existent at the time, so obviously not, but...
Hot sunlight shines through the veined membrane of an aquatic egg. It was once carried in deeper, cooler waters of a more northern latitude. Now it bobs freely in a subtropical shallow. The consciousness dawning inside is prodded alert in discomfort. It is a male whale calf, stirring with a newfound awareness of body. This pod has held him for 17 months, nurtured his development from a single fertilized cell. Now it can no longer support his life. The inflow of nutrients and oxygenated blood has ceased.
Actually, fun fact, when it comes to sea creatures, a lot of sharks are kind of fucked up, since they will cannibalize each other before birth. So, if they were like twins, only one will make it out. It's really messed up.
A once comfortable cradle now pinches at his enlarged form. Pushed onto his own faculty, a suffocating urge to thrash wells up inside him. Yet he hesitates. A song booms from the world outside. The powerful low frequency vibrates through his whole body.
Speaking of this, whales make a sound so loud, it should actually just destroy their hearing. If I remember correctly, I believe they eventually figured it out as a muscle pushes up against the eardrum, preventing it from vibrating. I believe that is how they can make a noise so loud without destroying the hearing. I believe. I believe.
With the certainty of deep imprinting, the calf knows who is calling. It is his mother. She is on the other side. He must join her. The shell containing him is now only a brittle husk, swollen with waste material and straining at the seams. Clumsy first movements form the start of the calf's motor awareness. The egg is evolved to rupture open along a central seam. A few thin cartilage bands are all that retain him. One more forceful effort and he will escape.
You know, getting to watch a visual novel is actually kind of a nice change. I could actually sit back and relax, and then I can...
Technically speaking, the whale didn't hatch from an egg.
As I was saying, I can jump in with anything I want to say whenever I want or need to. It's actually really nice.
Egg is something of a misnomer. While there are known egg-laying mammals, none of them are whales.
There are 4 extant species of egg-laying mammal. They are the platypus,
Hell yeah.
the echidna,
They have weird penises.
the snorb,
And I don't say that as a weird thing, it's just all I know about the echidna is A, Knuckles is based off of it, and it has a very weird penis. That's it. I know nothing about the snorm, but it looks fucking adorable.
and the ribbon snore.
Wait, they're fucking with us, right? Is that a thing? Hold on. I'm gonna look that up. Give me a sec. Okay, I looked it up. And no, that is not a natural creature. And neither is the snore. You'd think I would know that, but no, I didn't. Okay. I want to do all of the...
This whale species has a placental connection to the mother while developing.
all of the extensions, because I think they'd be interesting, but that's just me.
Birthing shell is the term currently favoured in scientific journals when discussing this style of external womb.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess this might be following a whale, but I think it's an alien planet, or at least an alien ocean. Because didn't they say extinct platypus and echidna? And then they gave two mythical creatures? Huh. Oh god, now I'm gonna piece this together on my own.
The outer cartilage folds backwards, shrinking the space inside and expelling the contents outwards, creating pressure against the inner membrane until it finally pops. The calf spills out into the open ocean. The world is a rush of sensory stimulation. The newborn is momentarily stunned limp. He comes to amid a dizzying flurry of life. Plants and protists tangle and snag his every movement. Small scavengers eagerly devour the cloud of waste. Plants unfurl and retract in almost animalistic locomotion. Foliage clings to the calf from above. He swims deeper to escape. His mother's song reassures him once again, but she is still nowhere in sight. Sponges, wharf biters, crustaceans and corals dangle from the plants like ornaments.
Plant is not a misnomer. These are true plants. As with so much else in biology, the origin of plants can be traced back to the water. albeit those early ancestors were far less complex than what we see today. As will be explained later, marine environments impose steep challenges on plants. It was once upon land freed from the burdens of an aquatic life that plants could more readily diversify and form. And it was also after that great proliferation of flowering species that some plants found it more favourable by the water and eventually returned to the seas. They are, in that sense, like whales.
Oh, okay. I understand what's going on here. See, whales went from a water-based animal to the animal that transitioned on land with the rest of us. And from there, they eventually diversified into a proto-whale, or like a whale ancestor, which I believe looked more like a horse, if I remember correctly, or something like that. And then they became more aquatic by hanging on the water and everything, and eventually they kind of stopped going on land, and then from there we kind of got the whale and dolphin species we have today. So I guess this is a futuristic version of Earth. That's kind of what I'm getting, which is kind of really cool, but I'm curious on how that's gonna go.
Something solid grabs from below. His descent is halted. He's being lifted back towards the surface. The calf breaches, filling his lungs with their first breath of air. This is the breeding ground of his species. At the year's peak, this wide expanse fills with whales. But today our calf finds the surface empty, except for a very odd clump of plants. The calf does not know what to make of it. Equally disturbed and compelled, he stares transfixed. Plants continue to tickle his body just below the water. A resident waterbug examines him with equal skepticism. Sudden movement atop the leafy mass catches his eye.
Dun, dun,
It's all too frightening for the little one. He retreats back under the surface. His overpowering instinct is to nurse, but he cannot. His exhaustion mounts and fear seizes him. He is lost. And as if sensing his weakness, tendrils begin to grasp at him. A vine lassos his fluke. There is no escape. In a final burst of strength, the calf fights, thrashing, tearing, and uprooting his attackers. A scent of blood enters the water. His mother cries a pained song to soothe him. The calf is hit with the sudden realization. The strange plants are not taking him away from his mother. The strange plant clod is his mother.
The Brillo Whale. Ixtriana silverifera, I believe. So cool. Okay, so because of what I went to school for, this is probably my favorite part about any animal. So I am super excited.
What evidence remained of this year's Brillo breeding season has long since been swept away. This sandbar has returned to its normal, pristine state, save for one unusual pile of rocks.
Oh, hell yeah, tell us about it.
This is a stone dog. Somewhat like a hermit crab, this animal lives in a portable shelter of foreign material. It grasps together a shell of scavenged of debris with its long limbs and secretes an adhesive mucus to hold it fast. Stone dogs mostly rely on ambushing prey from a camouflaged position.
That is
Right
so
now,
cool.
this stone dog here is not the hunter, but the hunted. It is a woefully obvious attempt to hide, as the predator stalking it possesses one of the sharpest minds in the ocean. A quick check if the coast is clear. It isn't. Our whale calf wants to play, not eat. But from the stone dog's perspective, there's little difference. Since hatching, our calf has been a healthy and energetic specimen.
Oh, look at that poor stone dog. Okay, just so you know, any dolphin species are horrible psychopaths. That includes normal dolphins and, surprisingly, the killer whale. They're just horrible psychopaths. I don't believe this is a part of the killer whale line. So, not a psychopath. However, this is still messed up.
Despite his late birth, no complications are detectable. If anything, his cognitive ability is showing swift advancement. He is very fond of holding his fluke above the water surface. Scattered showers are currently moving through the area. The calf has been emerging frequently for visual inspection since the rain began. He seems very interested in the weather above.
See, this seems very weird to me, because I believe most whale species don't live near the surface, but like thousands of or like hundreds of meters down, sorry. So I'm very curious if this species itself is more of a surface dwelling species, which would be very interesting.
A long call reminds him not to stray too far. Brillos have surprisingly keen vision above the water. The calf is quickly able to spot his mother. This is the farthest distance he has travelled from her. It is more than twice that of yesterday. Today was quite an adventure. Now, reminded of his mother, all this bravery seems to evaporate. He is suddenly anxious to be at her side. He will bring her any interesting objects discovered while exploring. And boot it at her face.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is adorably cute. It kind of reminds me of what every child does at some point. Just adorable.
His mother is trying to rest off another bout of nausea. This play is a bit much. But these discomforts are trivial to the bond between mother and child. Our neural interface even shows a measurable relief in her symptoms during these interactions. The calf's carefree play is training for future hunts and the essential skills of survival, but it will be some time before he has to worry about earning meals on his own. His mother's long, prehensile udders reach him through the thorny bramble. The milk he nurses on is thick as yogurt.
Hold on. Prehensile? That's kind of fascinating, actually. Because you don't see that very often. It would make sense here because of all the growth on the mother, but still super weird. Granted, if the milk is as thick as yogurt, imagine how thick actual yogurted cheese would become. Like, holy fuck.
Calves subsist on this fat-rich diet for 2 years, building up an insulating layer of blubber, and the bands of spongy tissue for other organisms to burrow into. Here we arrive at what truly makes a Brillo whale such a remarkable specimen for study. Symbiosis of unrivaled complexity and variety.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is the interesting part. So, in theory, there's nothing stopping a plant and an animal from interacting in a way like this. Basically, the two closest things I can think of that get to this level is fungi, though they're straight up parasites 99% of the time, and either devour the prey organism or control them to devour other prey organisms. Or the closest thing I can think of in plants, and not the fungi kingdom, is what happens to sloths, where they're so slow that moss and algae build up on them, which gives them an extra layer of protection through camouflage, but also gives the algae, moss, whatever the fuck it is, a safe place to grow. But I never heard of anything going this far. I guess it is possible, but I am curious on how this would work, so let's get right on with it.
This female was initially selected for study due to her exquisitely beautiful exterior. The mammal is almost totally concealed within the undulating botanical mass. In cross-section, the distinction between whale and passenger is more visible. Unlike the stone dog shown earlier, this is not simply an external attachment of foreign material. The Brillo whale has an intimate connection to thousands of other living creatures.
Oh yeah, you can see that. They're actually burrowing into it. And just so you know, it's very unlikely for them to attach to the tail, because it does move so much. But that also makes it more interesting as to the fact that they did. Weird.
The whale chooses from among a variety of partner species and offers real estate within designated regions of its body. An inner membrane draws the line between the welcome cohabitation space and the whale's vitals.
Oh. That actually makes a lot of sense.
This unusual arrangement raises several questions, the first of which we will address. What is the benefit of living on a whale? To help us illustrate the principle, We will be assisted by a sea bunny, or sea bun, to use its more common nickname.
The South Scrimshaw team has received very explicit direction from our producers, and we are to unequivocally clarify to viewers that the sea bun is not a real animal. The sea bun owes its creation to the original landing party of Kronos 5. Though the specifics are lost, the most convincing story is that it was something misheard over a shoddy radio connection. As those early years recede into contemporary legend, it is important to remember that the tales of hardship told by the first landing party are not exaggerated. The pioneers were indeed isolated for 11 solar cycles, and it was not until the conclusion of the hostilities on Earth that the current biannual delivery schedule could be planned. The uncharted planet was a land of mysterious fauna and unknown environmental hazards.
A solar cycle. You don't hear that very often. But a solar year and a actual year don't line up perfectly. But for all intents and purposes, you could imagine it being around, I believe, 10 years if I'm correct. But still, that's a long time.
It was a time where technology seemed to suffer inexplicable malfunctions, while repair efforts were always undermined by a constant lack of materials, tools, and manpower.
God, look at that one. It's ugly. The other three are cute, but that last one, Jesus.
The myth of the sea bun serves as caricature for the force of chaos, always at work when one's back is turned. Sea bunnies was a sort of shorthand for, I don't know what's wrong, it could be anything, including a cryptid.
You know, those bottom ones are all cute too.
Among our seniors who were present at the time, one likened the expression to "here be dragons" on medieval maps. Another drew a parallel with Murphy's Law.
If something can go wrong, it will.
Somewhere along the line, either as intentional jokes or honest misunderstanding of colourful communiques, word of sea bunnies repeatedly escaped the planet in a way interpreted as fact by those off-world.
Oh, so by this point humans kind of ditched Earth. Interesting.
Compounding this misinformation was a popular hazing ritual where new arrivals were assigned to catch a sea bun for research, usually being given a butterfly net and sent somewhere isolated and moderately dangerous.
What? Isn't that kind of a dick move? Like taking a hazing ritual way too far?
A unique culture planetside encouraged the escalation of this practice, until a few near disasters brought a legislated end to the budding tradition.
Oh my god. I know you guys already understand the gravity of the situation, and I know there isn't malice behind these sort of pranks, so we will skip the part where I scold you like children. But understand on mostly planet side, the brass isn't. They aren't in the position to understand how some FNG got sent on a literal wild goose chase and swept away by the tide. We're all so lucky that fishing boat was there to pick them out of the drink. This case is getting closed without any disciplinary sanctions. It helps that kid is being a sport about it. Regardless. Oh my god. Imagine you get sent on a wild goose chase and nearly die. And you're like, nah, it was all for fun. Don't worry about it. Like, really? Like, holy shit, this is the nicest person ever? Regardless, I need everyone at your outpost to consider themselves on probation. Oh, sorry, probation. I gave some personal assurances to secure this outcome, so my neck is on the line too. Send my regards to blank blank. Was saying the other day how we haven't seen you two for a while. Let's get some horseshoes in before the weather cools. Jesus.
regular infrastructure improvements have also blunted the disgruntled sarcasm towards occasional hardship. In recent years, the sea bunny is most defined by Will Voynich's cartoons. Kids Wilderness is a monthly publication created and edited by Will Voynich, written and illustrated by Voynich and various contributors. Using friendly illustrations, it focuses on natural science, camping, and health and wellness. It joins the official Sunday newspaper as one of the planet's only 2 print publications. Voynich was originally a cartographer and among those first to land with Kronos 5. Children's literature only became a guiding passion after he discovered himself a soon-to-be father, and realised how very little would be available for the new generation by way of age-appropriate entertainment and education. On off hours at the Cartographic Survey Computer Lab, using optical scanners and image editing software designed for map-making, Voynich painstakingly constructed his first works. 5 volumes containing every fable he could remember from his own childhood. While he faithfully retells many of these timeless classics, Voynich's recall is often hazy. Several of the stories are so misremembered they are more original work than adaptations. For example, The Elephant and the Mouse retains nothing from the Aesop tale besides the titular animals. Voynich's version has the two discussing the different sorts of dreams they have while sleeping. Voynich's first intentional works of fiction would be penned for Kids Wilderness. The Adventures of Seabun and Monaco. The accessible charm of Seabun and Monaco found an immediate and enthusiastic audience. Currently playing are musical arrangements from the puppet show adaptation, which has been touring schoolhouses. The songs were composed and performed by Nico Kuprin. The formula of each adventure largely follows the same beats. Seabun, an ocean sprite with impish curiosity and an endless appetite for inedible material, happens upon some unknown piece of infrastructure and decides to devour it. Meanwhile, Monaco, a nervous eel sidekick who always follows Seabun, watches on in comically exaggerated terror while imagining the most nightmarish possible outcomes. These predictions of doom never come to pass. But Seabun's actions do cause significant damage, forcing construction crews to deploy for repairs. Seabun, now realising his error, uses his supernatural strength to help workers in various ways and atones for his destructive acts. Everything is then rebuilt stronger than before. The story formula seeks to inform young readers about vital infrastructure, where it is found, what happens if it breaks, and the sort of specialised work that maintenance requires. It also seeks to make the harsh edges of a frontier life less frightening and unknown to young readers. Each story ends with the sleepy Seabun returning to his burrow with a souvenir where he slumbers peacefully. That is, until he gets hungry again.
Some of these side tangents I don't care about. Just give me the biology.
Given how entrenched the character has become in the popular consciousness here, we feel it appropriate that the Seabun help guide our exploration of these oceans.
Oh my god, that long-ass tangent was just from this.
While each species has its own unique adaptation to this niche lifestyle, we can create several broad categories of benefits such evolution aims to harness. Moving through water takes energy. It is far easier to travel great distance when someone else is doing the swimming. Simply hitching a ride can be greatly beneficial. For example, one species of crab only lives on Brillo whales every other generation and uses whale transportation to greatly expand its range. Unless one is the apex predator, the threat of being eaten is an ever-present reality. If one lives as a potential meal, it is very important to be the least desirable, most difficult of meals. Finding alliance with a giant beast and living under its protection creates a very effective deterrence. It's always still possible to be eaten, but hunters now risk facing off with a leviathan. Some partnerships are more proactive. Certain shark, skates, rays and scarps have formed hunting partnership with the Brillos. They help find and catch quarry, then share in the feast. Pack hunting allows the Brillo to take down larger and different sorts of prey. The blood or waste of Brillo whales can also provide a source of nourishment. This not offered freely. Obviously, a Brillo whale cannot stand to be eaten alive. An Earth parallel is an oxpecker bird on a rhinoceros. The bird may drink a marginal amount of blood while it cleans off ticks. It's a fair trade for the rhinoceros, as the tick is the far greater threat. So too will a Brillo whale expend blood in a beneficial relationship. In several instances, living on a Brillo has evolved into part of an organism's life cycle, and the specific conditions regulated in a Brillo's body are required for a new generation. In some cases, this goes even further. With the biology of the two species becoming so enmeshed, it is unclear where one ends and the other begins.
It's fucking horrifying.
But these instances are rare. Our research team is very interested if these extreme cases represent a functioning system, or the pathological eventuality to such complicated arrangements.
It could also just be a parasite, to be honest.
All of these riders taking in small amounts adds up to a great expense for the host. This prompts the obvious next question. What does the whale stand to benefit from this arrangement? This is more complicated to respond to. There seems to be as many answers as there are Brillo whales, as there is spectacular variety among Brillos. For now, let us approach the answer with specific examples from this mother. The most prominent feature along her body is the wide variety of photosynthesizing organisms. The whale is, of course, not an autotroph producing her own energy from sunlight.
No, but interestingly enough, fungi, for the most part at least to my knowledge, are not autotrophs either. But their root systems can actually connect with plants, allowing for nutrients to be traded between different plants and themselves. And a lot of plants and fungi will actually punish each other if a plant or a fungi, respectively, is not sharing and is being too greedy, which is interesting. So that could be happening here.
But the specialized sea flora pays rent by sharing some of their sugars into her blood. When light is low, roots ferment, and alcohol is also created as a byproduct.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Certain plants near her head also act as fishing lures, drawing food to her maw. While she may occasionally swim deeper, a partially plant-subsidized life has locked her within the photic zone, the upper aquatic layer where enough sunlight can sustain the leaves.
Actually, whales don't live that long below the zone where light no longer reaches. I believe it's called the twilight zone. They actually come up quite often, but granted, for plants, that might not be often enough for them, though plants could adjust over time, so that might not actually be an issue, as long as some can survive to reproduce, which is interesting.
Adult Brillo behavior and biology is often dramatically influenced by their symbiotic arrangement. Here we see a blood trilobite.
Trilobites! Oh, I fucking love those.
This is not an invited guest. A long needle-like proboscis pushes down and taps a vein. Drinking in great volume and offering nothing in return, it is a true parasite. This is a job for the vellum worm. Vellum worms fill their stomachs by grooming Brillos of unwanted visitors. It is currently hypothesized that vellum worms distinguish the welcome from the attackers through smell and taste. Parasites have all been found to have elevated amounts of a bile-like Brillo waste inside them. This mother Brillo also has to worry about creatures browsing her lovely plants. Herbivorous fish attempt frequent raids on the leafy goods. This one is alone and quite oblivious. The vellum worm packs a powerful punch for larger animals. A neurotoxin-filled barb is shot into the fish's heart. It can only manage a faint muscle spasm before the venom completes its work.
Dude,
The
that's
Brillo Whale
fucked up.
strategy is called a symbiotic garden. It is an intentionally cultivated arrangement and a precarious balance of mutual reliance. When successfully maintained, the host becomes a morass of life. It is usually defended from attack. It can sometimes acquire energy in novel ways, and occasionally it is able to invade new niche ecosystems. The universal downside experienced by all Brillos is that more complexity creates more points for failure. An adult Brillo's life is dominated by the struggle to groom a semblance of order into increasingly overgrown flanks. To a simple calf, these adult problems have yet to enter his mind. Today he has found his mother's leaves serve as fun streamers to play with. She finally scolds him. She is too unwell to tolerate any more roughhousing. He doesn't quite understand, but he has other diversions. Primarily drinking more of her milk. Given the complexity of Brillo anatomy, even small health problems can swiftly spiral out of control. This female experienced complications while giving birth. There is the potential for the situation to worsen. A thorned branch has become ingrown, puncturing through both the layer of protective outer muscle and the cuticle barrier. This had begun prior to calving, but her contractions to extend the womb also caused the plant shard to stab deeper.
Oh.
The spikes are now in contact with her intestines. Fortunately, there is no puncture yet. The site is inflamed and white blood cells flood the area. The immune system unmistakably identifies this as an injury. We can witness her stiff reluctance to move and read a jolt in brain activity when she's jostled. It must be greatly painful.
See, when something happens to whale and dolphin species, despite dolphins being absolute fucking psychopaths, we do actually help them out. So there must be a reason why, in this time/world, they're not doing so. So that's kind of interesting to know.
The greatest danger right now is a tear of the intestines, which would certainly be fatal.
Yeah, because that would spill a bunch of bacteria into her blood. And that would make her go into sepsis, which probably would lead to sepsis shock, which would kill her.
There is reason to hope. Our scans also reveal that she has recovered from a similar injury in the past. Perhaps Brillos regularly endure such ghastly wounds. Perhaps it was the safety of the Brillo herd which afforded her enough time to convalesce. Certainly her odds of survival will be boosted greatly if she is able to make the long swim back. For now, she is still well enough to care for her newborn, though doing so must be exhausting. Judging by several physical indicators, this is most likely her first calf. Those Brillos who manage their gardens well can be extremely long-lived. Females can give birth as many as 8 times.
Oh, wow.
If the calf survives, one day he too might also cast his genes forward, his own minute fingerprint on the future's shape. Regardless of whatever metric of success we observers of an outside species might apply, his life will be led by the means it was forged, in the crucible of natural selection. But, for now, a rare moment of shelter.
Okay, that's chapter 3 out of 4. So, we're gonna save. And I'll come back to it and finish the last 2 chapters. But so far, this has been quite an interesting journey. And I'm looking forward to see how this finishes. Because this might not even be, like, done. There might be more to this, which is kind of fascinating to me. But for now, at least, I don't really have much else to say. Other than this has just been a really cool experience. And I kind of love that. Just cool experiences. Because isn't that what life is supposed to be about? Just cool experiences and basically having fun? But yeah, that might just be me. Anyways, I'm gonna end it there. So thank you for tuning into the frequency. This is the Rebel Lemon signing off. So good night and sweet nightmares.